ammo pouch. It's very simple, but in order to skip the discovery process and get into the making part, go to this time in the video. You probably saw my last video on this pouch, this Condor 25 round shot shell pouch, and how to use it. Well, after that video, I did some more testing on it and worked with it more, and then I started buying some of the knockoffs. The stuff you can buy on Amazon for like $10 a piece. And they work great, they just don't have the buttons right here and the extra Velcro to hold this part down, and that's fine, whatever. But what I didn't like is the idea that I would have the ammo pouches on both sides because they need to counterbalance, but then what? What happens when those 50 rounds are out? Or those 75 rounds, whatever. I need to have more ammunition and I need to have it available. What do I just keep it loose and like on bandoliers and go bandito style after that? What if I went in between that? And I figured, okay, well, what about, just having this on hand and making like a little loop on it so I can just throw this on if I need a lot of ammunition right away, kind of Minuteman style. And I thought, just 550 cord, throw it over your neck and see if you can deploy it when it's just dangling there like this. And sure enough, you do a nice firm tug upwards, no big deal when it's loaded. And even if it's halfway loaded, it still works if it's just Velcro, right? So the problem with other systems that I found is, like, number one, going bandito style, it doesn't conceal the shells. They can actually snag on things. It rubs up against the neck because of how thick this webbing is, and it gets pretty uncomfortable, and it can snag and pull shells off as you go, and it twists around as you unload it too. So it can be kind of awkward. Now, the dump pouch method, a lot of people probably thought, okay, just have a bunch of dump pouches fully loaded. Well, the problem with dump pouches is, yes, it conceals the shells. Yeah, you can carry a lot in a dump pouch, and it's pretty convenient. The problem is, when you're reaching in here, number one, it makes a lot of noise, especially as you're unloading it and running around with it. It makes a lot of noise. And also, when you're pulling out shells, you don't know what direction they're facing. You almost have to look at it, especially if you're wearing gloves. You're not really going to feel it all that well. So you don't have the control over how it's placed. It's kind of like having somebody else load your magazine pouch as someone who doesn't understand like how you are. What if you had your rounds, all facing forward and facing inward, or whatever, something that's off from what you were taught, right? That's kind of how it is having a dump pouch round. So then you have this stuff where you can have ammo on your belt. This is what I like to use for gold mining, because I just strap it on my belt, on my pants, and then have my shotgun available if I don't need to use the slugs for bears, which is the first stuff that's in the shotgun. Then I have buckshot and birdshot for beavers and little varmint or whatever that might be an issue in the area, or if I'm able to hunt something, whatever. But none of that really would work for like the combat shotgun application. So I figured, why don't I just stick with this? Now, this is not something that I'm going to really stick with, like as far as the 550 cord as it is, because it has the insides, and I found that having the insides in actually kind of makes it a little more aggressive on your neck. Just something as simple as taking the insides out works, and that'll be covered in the making part. But having it up high works, having it low works, but it moves around a little bit more. And the idea behind this is not to keep it like this. Now, if you have no way to secure it, yes. Now, you can have it at whatever height you want and have it to where the molly here actually will attach to the belt to keep it from moving back and forth, but this does most of the load bearing. That is on you to decide. Personally, I would say that this is a redundant piece, and this is just to get it out of the pack and onto the shoulder, or get a lot of ammunition on you quickly. Just like a bandolier of ammo. You're not really using that as your main way of keeping ammunition on you. It's just, okay, we got to get a lot of ammunition and then go. And when we have time, we load up our mag pouches. Well, for this, you just load the thing onto your belt, and you can untie the 550 cord, when the time comes, and just throw it away or whatever, or interlace it inside the molly here, which is another thing I would do, just to keep it around. And that's really the idea behind this system. So let's go ahead and get into making one of these systems using one of the little knockoff brands.
First thing I'm going to do is just get this thing out of the bag, and you're going to want to use either the bag or the paper inside. You're just going to need something to protect your hands. So I'm not going to need the bag, I'll just use this paper, but actually just a piece of it. I don't need it getting in the way, but I'm going to throw it over here. And I think anybody that's messed with 550 cord already knows where I'm going with this. So obviously I don't need the swag or whatever, because I don't care about Chinese companies. But the products, depends on how they are. I first tested these and saw if they were good, and they are. So all you're going to do is start right away with measuring out your 550 cord. You droop this over your shoulder and just join it and get like 2 inches or 4 inches of length past where you want the top of this to be. So that's basically where you want it to sit. So for me, this thing is actually about this much longer than it needs to be, but that's okay. I'm just showing you in general how to make this. It's super simple. So you cut it to length. We'll just pretend this is about my size. So all I'm going to do is unbutton this, and I'm just going to throw them inside like this all the way down. And then I'm just going to button them down. No big deal. Very simple. This keeps them from snagging, keeps them out of the way, so they're not a problem, right? Next is I'm going to take my 550 cord and I'm going to take the insides out. Now this is very important for comfort's sake, because if it's really thick, if the 550 cord stays thick, it can be a bit uncomfortable. So you want to take it out of this. Now if you're using excess for the handle or whatever, for the grab handle, then you want to leave the insides in or cut it before you take the insides out. So you can just throw all that stuff away. And you can burn the ends or you cannot. It doesn't really matter. That's up to you. I'm not going to for this video. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to thread it through the top first, and then I'm going to run it under. Just makes it a little bit easier to do. And then run it through the middle here. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep the lines out so it goes outwards instead of pulling inwards and kind of clamping around your neck and around your body. That can be pretty uncomfortable from my experience, but this is all it takes to prevent that. And this one I'll just run under, which I could have done in the first place, but yeah, some of them are pretty tight, the others aren't. But the next thing you're going to do is a very simple knot. You're simply going to take the 2 ends, take it around your fingers, and just use your 2 fingers to pull it through the hole, like so. And you can have as much excess as you want or as little excess as you want, and that's it. It's just a very simple little knot, and that way, when it's around your neck, there you go. It's not going to go anywhere, all right? That's simple. Now we get to the fun part. So this is where you're going to need your candle and a lighter. You don't need to use a candle, but I find it's a lot easier to work with. Now you can see that I had burnt the ends of this already, and you can if you want. You don't need to, and probably helps if you don't, and you'll see why at the end. But all you're going to do here is tie it really tight, one of the basic knots here, like tying your shoes, the first step of tying your shoes, and put it right below this seam right here where everything is stitched together. And this is going to be a strong point that's going to be kind of hard for the knot to overcome, and you want to use that to keep this on. So you're going to tie it really tight, pull it really tight, and then you're going to go around the other side. So you got the knot on this side, you're going to go around the other side and do the exact same thing. Okay, now it's not going to be really pretty or anything, but who cares, right? And I'm just going to keep doing this until pretty much all the thread is out. So you go back and forth tying these simple knots right on top of, your rope, and all you're doing is you're increasing the size of this clump. And it doesn't need to be too big for you to be able to feel it with gloves and be able to find it without looking. But the problem is these things are not easy to find without looking. So it's not really a good pulling point either, because this nylon or whatever it is can be pretty slick. Who knows what the Chinese companies are making it out of. But before I actually join them together, because I'm almost out, this was only about a foot of material, is I'm actually going to do kind of a triple. So instead of just doing one, I'm going to do another with the longest point. So the longest point is going to be the one that runs through, and then I'm just going to pull it tight. The last piece there is I'm going to leave enough to where I can actually join these together. I can pull them around the end here, and I'm just going to join them together like so. And this is where I'm going to light my candle and get my paper ready. So I'm going to get my paper ready so I can clamp it and kind of smear the melted nylon together. But I'm just going to be careful to get this just lit enough. Don't need this catching a really good flame, but you want both ends lit so both sides melt. Alright, and just clamp. Still a little bit warm, but those two pieces are joined together. They're right on top of each other. So yeah, it's basically one whole unit. And now it's nice and secure. So you can, grab it and rip. So you got your little, little monkey fist that you can grab onto. So that's simple.
So I hope that satisfied your curiosity. If you were one that wanted to see exactly how I make this, it's really that simple. As I said, take out the insides and you're good to go. And it'll be a little bit more comfortable. It'll be a little softer on the neck and stuff. It won't be so hard, almost like a garrote. Though it is very light, it can still be a little uncomfortable and very stiff with the nylon insides. The choice is yours if you want to throw on a vest or throw on a belt or whatever. I'm just giving you guys an option that I kind of came up with. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And you guys have a good one.